I still have close friends that are part of that lifestyle.
Right.
And sometimes we have close conversations where they talk about what life would have been like if a program like this was there years ago.
Welcome to another episode of Innovation Somalia. I am your host, Abdullah Ali. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. I'm really excited. Today I have Siyad Mohammed. Siyad, he is a soccer player. He lives in the world of soccer. He knows a lot about soccer. So what better be talk to somebody that knows a lot about soccer. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
What's going on?
Like you said, soccer is really my thing.
Right.
I've been playing soccer for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
For years now.
Okay. Do you coach?
Yes.
Okay.
I run a program.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So the program I run is called Hilltop Tigers Soccer Program.
Okay.
And it's an initiative of a nonprofit called My Project USA.
Gotcha.
Which I've been working with since the age of 16.
Oh, okay.
And with that program, it really focuses on underserved communities, at-risk youth.
Gotcha.
And it really gives them an opportunity to be able to play soccer.
Okay.
And really stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
And then with those kids that are really talented, it gives them a chance to be exposed outside of their environment.
Gotcha.
So we have a good relationship with the soccer world, like Columbus Crew.
Okay.
And Ohio Premier.
Okay.
And they also play in a league called Ohio Champions League.
Okay.
And we get to travel all over, Ohio, and here and there we'll go to different cities.
So you've been working with them since what, 16 years old?
Yes, I am the founder and the director of the program.
Okay.
So we have kids as young as 6 years old, all the way up to 17.
As far as their talent goes, tell me a little bit about that. Like, are they really talented?
When it comes to these kids' talents, you want to look at it like these are kids that have never really gotten an opportunity to showcase what they know.
Okay.
And a lot of the kids we work with are raw talent. They have raw talent where they haven't gotten an opportunity to be coached over the years. And everything that they learn is from playing soccer in the streets and playing soccer in the neighborhood. And when you realize how talented they are and what they already bring to the table, you teach them a little bit of the basics and the foundations of organized soccer, how to play soccer with a structure.
Yeah.
And once they learn that, it's game over. So a lot of these kids are very talented. Some of them want to play soccer, kind of stay out of trouble. So we have that good balance where kids that want to have fun, might not be there but have a lot of potential, and the kids that are very talented and have an opportunity to play soccer as a career.
Yeah.
So we have both.
It's funny you mentioned that because the most soccer players come from underserved community, the ones that are really talented. I mean, there are some that are really being coached and have the proper resource and all that.
Yes.
But there are some that really come from, especially the ones that are from Africa, in Somalia too. So that's very cool. And so tell me a little bit about the relationship that gives them the opportunity to be exposed by like coaches looking at them in a different way. So tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, the relationship that we have is for the kids that are very talented. For one, they have to meet education requirements.
Gotcha.
So this is not just, let's get together and play soccer. This is, you're very talented, so that's what got you into the doors.
Yeah.
Second off, are you disciplined enough? Do you have what it takes to kind of keep yourself in check?
So how do you discipline them? Like the ones, because it's really tough for somebody who hasn't been pushed to their exactly. So tell me a little bit about that. What do you guys do to check them?
With our discipline policies, we have different requirements for different kids.
Gotcha.
So we'll have kids that are struggle a little bit more to kind of keep themselves in check, and we'll have different consequences for them. That's because that's what best fits them. And then we'll have kids that can do a good job of being disciplined, but here and there they'll slip up because of their environment.
Gotcha. So now the ones that that are really good talent, can play ball, probably have good potential, but yet they're that hard-headed,
Right.
to work with. They're that hard-headed, and because simply to be fair to them, because the environment in which they grew up, right? So now, how do you sympathize with that?
I tell them all the time that you can't control what happens around you, and I always tell them you can only control what you do from what happens around you,
Gotcha.
because there's so much that happens within their neighborhood, within their communities, and they have two choices. I mean, they can either be a victim, they can either be a survivor, or they can be a change maker. And I always tell them, if you can do something about the environment, then go ahead and do it. But if you can't, just really control how you respond to it, because you don't get to decide who your family members are. You don't get to decide what environment you grow up in, but what you do get to decide is your future, and that's the only thing you can change and control.
Yeah. So, like, are they responding to that? Have you seen, like, in a case where, you guys put into the work and they somehow responded to it?
Majority, I'd say like 70% of the kids do respond. And sadly, we don't get to save every kid. And we can't get to every kid, and we understand that. So we just do the best that we can on our part. And, we just kind of let the rest do its work.
It's a tough position to be when somebody has it like in a good potential that they can go far, but yet that they struggle with and based on the environments which they are, and you see them. I mean, it's easy to slip back to what do you feel comfortable with the majority of the times, and that's how you grew up and based on that.
Right.
How do you see the soccer community within the Somali right now?
I mean, I think within the soccer community, it's going great. They're doing big things now.
Like what?
And time is coming. Like, for example, you have I think it's called 𝐂𝐻 Youth Academy.
Okay.
And they're located more like on the north side of Columbus, and they kind of serve like the Somali population for the soccer kids there.
Okay.
And then you have our program is called Hilltop Tiger Soccer Program, where we focus on the west side, which is kind of more of the low income community, and we serve that community there. But outside of those youth programs, I mean, they have a lot of adult teams that organize tournaments, soccer games, friendlies, scrimmages. So I mean, when it comes to the soccer world, like you said, Columbus is, one of the highest populations in America.
Absolutely.
When it comes to the Somali people. So it's there,
Okay. And are we making a pro?
Yes. So, I mean, right now, the progress is there. It's happening. Like within the Somali community in Columbus, like we have Umarani, who grew up in Columbus, and I got to witness him play soccer, and I got to also witness, I think it was Abdi, also played soccer, and now he plays with the Columbus Crew too, and Umarani plays overseas, and he playing for their national team. So I mean, I've got to witness some good players here and there.
Okay. What is young and upper coming right now? Like the ones that are like 14, 15, 16. What, do you got to experience something like that yet?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, hey, this kid has a really good talent. I can see them go far.
Right. Yes. I mean, we have like a handful of those kids.
Okay. Where do they play?
Right now, I have a couple kids that play in Ohio Premier. Okay. And Ohio Premier is a soccer club, is a travel club that plays.
I know how. Okay, so you guys participate in that network.
Yes.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit about their raw talent. Like, where do they play on the field?
So, like, when it comes to the raw talent of these kids, it's something that they learn from, in their neighborhood, their streets. It's not something that's structured.
Right.
So
that's where you guys come in, I think.
Exactly. So if you really think about it, they're learning something that other kids are not being exposed to, because they never got the opportunity to kind of play freely and to do as they wish and learn whatever they want to learn. So with these kids, a lot of the kids that we have, they're very good capabilities, meaning 1v1 skills, taking on guys, very physical, very strong, very fast. And these are all things that they were able to, learn and accomplish just by having free play, is what they call it.
Okay. When you add that to a structure, No, that's that's dangerous.
Yeah, very, very, very dangerous because, like in the soccer world,
Right.
A lot of teams will play systems. They'll play organized, and where we come in is once we get the structure together and we learn how to play organized, then we become a threat, so we match it.
Right.
But then we have those 1v1 players. We have I'd say like the secret sauce that
exactly.
other teams might not have.
Right.
And that's where some of our most talented kids will come into play. And what they'll do is they'll start pulling players out of their position, and that team will kind of be more focused on playing, trying to mark that individual player that's very talented. They'll have two guys defending him, or they'll just pull people out of position, which won't let the team kind of play the system that they want to play. It won't let them be organized.
Gotcha. That coaching mentality, it's a way to disrupt like an organized, along with like that secret sauce that came from the street sauce, if you say. That's very cool. Now, are you seeing that getting the right resources to take these kids to the next level? As far as like the community goes, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, honestly, I'd say now times are changing.
Okay.
And the low-income community is starting to get noticed by higher ups, and different soccer organizations are starting to kind of come on a lower level and start looking into these kids, because they're starting to realize that some of these kids have that raw talent, have something that other kids that have been playing structured soccer for a long time might not have, because they've always been told what to do, how to play, how to move the ball, where a lot of these kids were never told to do that. They were able to kind of be innovative and come up with their own style, where others were never given an opportunity to do that.
So walk me through the day-to-day coaching. What do you guys work on the most, and how do you see that getting transferred on the pitch?
We're always going to be doing game-like training sessions, where we're not going to have kids working on something that they'll never experience in a game. So, for example, like game-like situations where we'll work on building out from the back, how to start from the goalkeeper to play it out to our center backs, to play it out to the guys on the wide. And these would be defenders that would have to be composed and be calm while being under pressure from the other team, and be able to play out from the back and pass the ball while they're still being under pressured.
Right.
Instead of just kind of playing the old style of soccer where defenders will just boot it.
That's tough to do.
I mean, it's like it sounds tough, but when there's people are experts in different fields. So if soccer is all you've really been focusing on, then it's kind of like a passion. You look forward to challenging yourself, learning something new, and then you've done something really well when you can teach somebody else what you've learned.
We need those. We need a lot more programs like that.
Well, I mean, we honestly do, because there's a lot of kids. Population is always growing, and there's so many kids out there that won't get an opportunity like the kids that we're working with will, because we can't cover every ground, we can't cover every neighborhood. So there's always room to grow, and there's always room for other programs, to kind of start off and make a difference.
What about education? So now you have these raw, talented kids. What about their education?
So
are you guys working with the schools?
Yes.
That literally give them, a scholarship and kind of sort of push them.
So when it comes to the educational piece, we have different programs that meet the needs of all the kids. So for example, we have one of our programs within the organization is called My Reading Warriors. And it really focuses on helping kids, get on track on their reading levels. Some of our kids that we work with are ESL students, they're English second learning students. So
this is like a huge nonprofit organization. So there's coaches, there's teachers. I mean, is that like volunteer teachers or people that are within the community coming to do this, or how did the program provide those type of services?
So for the Reading Warriors program, it's a volunteer base. So it's college students, OSU students that come and participate, and every 2 2-3 days out of the week, they'll come into work with some of the kids and really help them with their reading, help them with their homework, and whatever they need, they'll get that help. I can't think about a program that's ever been created by the people within that community. Because if you think about it, when you talk about programs, it's always somebody from a wealthier side of town coming into a low impact, lower poverty community and wanting to help. But the difference with this program that we're running is it empowers the youth and it empowers the community within inside. So a lot of the kids that I'm working with were the same kids that I grew up with, and I got to see them grow up.
Gotcha.
So we're coming from the same environment. So now I'm a living example of, hey, you can be a leader, you can do great things in life, and you could just be a normal citizen. You can go through these steps without having to take a different route.
That's a positive message.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very I'm living proof.
Yeah.
What are the challenges like when you grew up? Like, what are the challenge things that you face?
I mean, a lot of the challenges we had was just like barriers, because I grew up with my mother. My mom was just kind of living here on her own, and my father is back still in Kenya, and just being raised by just a single mother here. With 4 boys and not knowing much about America itself, like we were always, a product of our environment. So we were easily influenced by the negative because, we had this image, this American dream. Hey, this is what you want to do. This is what's cool. This is what's not. And nobody ever told us, hey, don't get into this. Don't join gangs. Don't steal. Don't do this. Because in our environment, we've never had a positive role model. So for myself, I'm telling myself, hey, as soon as I graduate high school, as soon as I get a high school diploma, as soon as I reach 18, I'm going to be that person that's going to be that positive role model that I never had. Because I know for a fact, if a lot of, my peers growing up had that positive role model that we are to the kids today, I think the statistics would have been different, the numbers would have been different, and it would have made a big difference.
What are the numbers that jump up your mind in terms of the statistics that we're speaking of that didn't make it? So,
I started the program my senior year in high school, which was 2017, and during 2017 there was 17 shootings and 7 homicides. In the Wedgwood area itself. So because the Wedgwood Village Apartments is our base, that's where it was, the pilot program. That's where we started off. That was our main focus. And out of those 7 homicides, I want to say, 2 to 3 of them were close friends or were people that I've watched grow up. So, having the news report on these things, and they're always talking about, in the Wedgwood Village Apartments, there's been a shooting, but we're behind that conversation. We're seeing it real life in front of us, and we're seeing friends being carried in stretchers, and we're going to funerals week after week. And I mean, it's something that a lot of kids won't make it out of, but to be able to go through all of that and still look at life in a positive way and be like a positive impact is not easy. But, when you have a purpose and a passion for something, I don't think anything can stop you.
When you have a passion and purpose, sky's the limit.
Exactly.
But just the difficult part of that is maintaining those passions.
Exactly.
That itself, it's a war. Exactly. What I mean? So, and I'm really, proud of some of the things that you accomplished, some of the things that you're doing, and where you're headed in generally speaking. I wish nothing but success. What can be done to help the ones that feel like, hey, I'm already in this deep into it, I can't get out?
Right. So speaking of that, I still have close friends that are part of that lifestyle.
Right.
And sometimes we have close conversations where they talk about what life would have been like if a program like this was there years ago, and They say, I see myself doing something different, but, I'm so deep into this lifestyle, it's very hard to leave it. And, I'll kind of give you an example. Just imagine kids that have never had a different outcome in life, and they've always been used to the drugs, the gangs, the guns, the violence, and then this is what they see every single day. And the thing about faith and about belief is something that you'll never see. So they would have to have that courage to look for something that they might not see in front of them, which the reality is this, and you're telling them to believe in something that they might not even reach. So speaking to some of the close friends, we always talk and we always touch base on everything, and they're always looking forward to changing one day. But like you said, it's very hard because it's kind of like getting yourself in a hole that you can't dig out of that easy.
That's tough.
It is.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be. It's a death or life situation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what can the community do to change that?
I mean, I think honestly, what the community can do is just be positive as much as possible.
Okay.
Because honestly, some of these kids or some of the people that are in the streets, it's not like they wake up every day wanting to go and do bad things.
Right.
It's just that they've become a product of their environment, and
right.
Bad habits die hard.
That's true.
So imagine waking up every day and you're doing negative things, you're hurting people, you're harming people, and it's not. I don't think it'll be something that's even human nature. You wouldn't even be proud of that.
Right.
But if you have somebody that's always smiling at you, always giving you some sort of hope, I think one day you're gonna have what it takes, the courage, and stand up and say, you know what, this is not the type of person I am. So, for example, every time I see somebody that is struggling or has bad habits or is really deep into the gang activity or whatever, I wouldn't respond to them in a negative way and tell them, hey, get out of here, you're this, you're that. I would literally smile at them and I would have a conversation with them. And some of these people, if you talk to them, you'd be surprised on how smart they are and
yep.
how much they know.
Yep.
But people will be so quick to judge a book by its cover.
Yep.
And they'll see that person and they wouldn't even look at them. They'll look at them like, they'll say something like, I wouldn't even get close to that person.
Yeah.
But realistically, we all have our struggles, and we just need that one person. Simple smile, talk to them, and give them some sort of hope, and maybe one day that'll be that reason why they want to change.
This conversation was about soccer, but now stumbled on deeper issue that really the community somehow, some way, you need to kind of sort of face.
Right.
It's like the mental health problem.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there's like, if we're speaking about a mental health, there's just so much that is rooted in our own community. Exactly. Because nobody really talks about it. I'm having a hard time to. The people that are the leader, or the people that we think that, start from home, parents per se, we put that under the carpet,
right.
Sweep that under the rug,
right.
Hey, this is not an issue, this is something that, we can overcome, but it's not really.
Right.
And mental health come in different shapes. You never know. So anxiety is one of the mental health.
Right.
Be not courageous enough to do some of the things that you think it's right. It could also be like a mental challenge.
Right.
So in what does mental health issue mean to you when you see the community and when you see some of the people that are struggling?
I mean, I've always thought about that. I've been like a deep thinker when it comes to mental health, and like I really try to understand the situation. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you an example. So I think one of the reasons why our community doesn't really believe in mental health is because our people have been surviving for years. Okay, so if you go back and you talk about the struggles that you had in the refugee camp in Kenya, and you go back and you talk about the struggles that our families have had in Somalia, I think the last thing they would ever worry about is how are you doing. Instead, it's more of, are you surviving? Because if you go back, our parents have PTSD. They've been through war. They've lost family members. They've been through famine. They've been through so many different things that mental health is not even on that list. where it's always survival, survival, survival. Even growing up as a young kid, survival, survival. So now they were raised that way. They never got the opportunity to actually sit back and talk about their emotions or even get to express it. It was always, tucked inside because it's always survival mode everywhere you go. You never have time to sit down and talk about emotions or talk about how things make you feel. It's more like, how can I survive? Where can I get my next plate? And how can I take care of my family and loved ones? And that was it. So now, we're more Americanized, and America really teaches you to tune in with your mental health. And now some of us never got to experience, the devastation that our parents went through. So now our parents and the youth have a very hard time connecting because they were never raised in a way where they could talk about their feelings or their emotions. And here we are, more Americanized, and we can actually tune in with ourselves and talk about how we feel. And then there's a huge barrier because our parents are saying, you're crazy. How are you depressed? Because they never knew what it felt like. They didn't know what even depression was. If you're depressed, you're crazy. If there's something wrong with you mentally, you need help. You don't have iman, you don't have faith. Those are the things that come up to mind. It's not, hey, let's tune in with our feelings and our emotions and talk about what's bothering you. It's, you shouldn't be worried about that. You have to graduate high school. This is what you have to do. They look at it more as like a weak link because they've always been doing nothing but surviving their whole lives.
And that kind of transferred
exactly
to the youth.
And we can't expect our parents to, because it's two different stages. They were raised a certain way and we're raised a certain way.
Right.
And there's this huge barrier where some parents won't even spend time with their kids because they're so focused on, do I have a roof over my kids?
Right.
Can I go get the money? Can I do this? Can I do that?
Right.
It's never, let me give some time to this kid. Maybe he's not okay. He's not, like, whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Like you said, they've been raised differently.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, the kids that are growing up in America.
Mm-hmm.
They also been raised differently. And in between times, what happened was the Civil War. And the Civil War kind of sort of take people apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that one day in Somalia will be in a place that for everybody just to go and enjoy, because if you really think about it, we have a beautiful beaches and beautiful stuff that I just don't understand why is it taking so long for us to come around to that. You touched on a very good point. That's why I didn't interrupt. I just let you really express it the way which you did, beautifully, and thousands of people will get to experience that what you just described. Now we're in a different era. So not so many parents are worrying about the roof over their head, the roof over their heads for their kids' heads, because we live in a society where that's kind of sort of like a cover at the bare minimum.
Right.
That society means in the United States. Now looking ahead and talking to the kids, especially your age, you're 22. 24. So talking to, let's just say, from the ones that you coach, let's start from 15 to 25. That's young adult, but still, and the positive mentality. Now, what can we say to them and say, hey, if you feel some type of way that you feel like, you having different emotions and you're having a hard time expressing or talking to people and you just suppressing, even though that question might be for somebody that who's a mental health expert, but from the neighborhoods, from the street understanding, from the coaching perspective, what can you say to them? Say, hey, you're expressing, you're experiencing these kind of emotions. How was it for you to get those emotions out when you were 16, 17, 18? Let's start from that.
So, I'd honestly say to the youth in the community that are, from any age range, even the adults, where the ones who are struggling with mental health or who are struggling with really having, somebody that understands them, I'd say for one, I wouldn't keep my struggles to myself. I would find like a trusting person, whether it be a peer, a friend, adult, a family member, somebody that will understand you. Because I honestly believe, sometimes it's best to talk about the situation, because no matter who you are, there's always something that you need support on. Even the biggest leaders have a shoulder to lean on. The biggest people have people to turn to. And nobody ever goes through anything alone unless they choose to. So it's really recognizing, first you have to recognize the problem that you have, and you have to face the reality of it. And then once you realize this is an issue I have, now ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? There's two ways. You can either continue suffering and nobody else feels your suffering but you, or you can have a different different change and actually say, you know what, I deserve better, and I'm going to get the help that I need, and I'm going to go and talk to the people that are going to be very supportive, so I can continue and help those that might be in my situation. Because it's so easy to turn your face and deny and say, I don't have mental health, I'm not struggling, I'm not doing this. But I think the strongest people are going to be the ones to face their problems head on and say, this is the problem that I have. I'm going to go and find the support that I need, and I'm going to become a better person just by doing that.
Do you experience or have seen somebody who was struggling that found somebody to talk to and just get that out of their chest, and and you can tell the difference?
Right. So for me, I want to say, like, I'm that person for a lot of people within my own community. Even when it comes to adults older than me, they come and turn to me for advice, just any type of support, no matter what it is. I always, I'm straightforward, I'm honest with them, and I tell them what they need to hear and not what they want to hear, and they know that everything that I say is going to come from my heart. It's not going to be something that's going to be misleading. So even with my youth that I work with, I have a lot of youth that entrust me with a lot of things more than their own parents. They would talk to me about something, and they wouldn't touch base with their parents, because they feel like their parents wouldn't even try to understand the situation, because they're two different generations. They were raised differently. And with me, I feel blessed to be a part of both generations, where I'm more understanding, and I understand where the adults are coming from. And then I'm also a youth. I was raised in America, so I know what some of the American youth go through. So it's a good balance for me, and I can relate. And I'm always being open-minded, and I feel like with those kids or with anybody that struggles, if I can support them in any way possible, then I'll always have like an open door policy for them.
That's the best way, really. Be honest, to be upfront, to be straightforward in any community. Now, if we were to talk to our parents and say, hey, when I was 16, I was experiencing this. For whatever the reason is that you and I didn't get understood one another at the time, but now I'm an adult. So by going through something like that, what can we tell the kids who's having a hard time? Not the kids, but the parents, to say, hey, spend some time to your kids. Maybe schedule a date with your kids. Go out, talk to them. Just the two of you guys. Talk about the benefit of that.
Right, and I'll say, like, a lot of parents don't understand, but times have changed.
Right.
We're not living in the world where we could just send our kids outside and they would just go and play and come back home safe. The reality of it is, if we are not involved in our kids' lives, then somebody else is involved in their lives. Somebody else is raising them, and something else is the parent, whether that be social media, peers, friends, environment, whatever the case is. If you're not close to your kid, something else is. Something that they are really dear, something that's really dear to them. So I would tell the parents that when you get an opportunity, simple as a conversation with your kid can change realistically, because a lot of the kids feel like they're misunderstood, or a lot of them feel like their parents don't care enough, so they'll turn to different things that they might think is, an alternative for the missing love that they don't get from their parents. So I'd say, for one, kids just need attention. Even if you take 5 minutes to play a game with them, or kick a soccer ball, take them to the park, or grab some food together, and just say, how are you doing? How are things? Like, I would say, take one day out of the week and check up and go somewhere and make it a habit. Like for me, for example, every Friday I'll take my family out and we'll just touch base on everything that we did over the weekend. Every Monday for our soccer program, I meet up with all the coaches and we talk about everything and what we can do to improve. Same thing with the youth. Like, we'll meet up every Monday, we talk, and we really get an idea of where everybody's heads are. So we make sure we're not leaving anybody behind, and we just make sure everybody's heard. So just giving time to the youth, and actually with that time being open-minded and understanding, and not jumping to a conclusion real quick. Because as a parent, you can hear your child talk, and you can say, hey, if your child comes to you, hey, I was talking to this boy, or I was talking to this girl. What are you doing talking to a girl? Haram alayk, what are you doing? It's simple as listening to them, and then instead of jumping at them, be somewhat understanding, and then relay the message of why this is not good or why this is bad. Because the moment that you scream, all they're ever going to hear is that scream.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, that's pretty cool, you were talking to the boy, what's their name? What did you learn? And then you just really tune in and talk to them. You can get the message through without them feeling like they're being attacked or something.
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah. No, that's a good example. Now, do you get that organization? Do you guys offer classes to parents?
So,
like in communication, like, hey, have you thought about communicating this way? Because the way you were raised might be, it is a completely different way that you're going to raise your kids.
I mean, and that's like a very hard topic, because we've tried to do different things, and it just hasn't, worked out. It's not like a really good outcome where we'll set something up, like we'll set a dinner up and we'll say, hey, can we get all the parents from the community to come out? It's a sad reality. Like, even with the soccer program that we're running, we don't even have parents show up to games. And when we take the kids, like, we pick them up for trainings, we pick them up for practices, we pick them up for games, any type of event. Our organization has 15-seaters. They have buses, because parents don't pick up their kids. They don't drop them off. They don't do anything. So we kind of play that role also. So, I mean, it's a sad reality.
Yep.
Parents don't get involved in their kids' lives. And then the only time they would really get involved is when it comes down to the consequences of harsh punishments. But it's never, a lot of parents don't realize how good their kids are until they've turned and took a different path. And then they'll say, what happened? What did I do wrong?
I mean, how do we expect our kids to go far if we cannot get involved in day-to-day activity? And that's it, simply showing up. But yet, on the flip side of that, parents are struggling to make ends meet.
Exactly.
But how much it's a difficult situation to be in when you've been brought up here, and you're raising kids,
right.
And your language limited, maybe the environment in which you live in is limited.
Exactly.
That kind of sort of adds on additional weight to your shoulders in terms of taking care of your family. But yet also the culture in which we carry on, it's completely different, the culture in which we live in, but yet I feel like we haven't acknowledged enough to be in that culture to say, okay,
right.
Hey, it's time for us to acknowledge this culture.
Right. No, and I totally agree with you. And honestly, there's always like two sides to everything, because the parents really do struggle with many things that happen in our lives and in their lives, and the youth that are more Americanized tend to struggle also. And it's really, like you said, accepting the reality and trying to face the problem head on and ask yourself, okay, this is the problem we have. Now let's talk about solutions. What are we going to do to fix the problem?
So what has your experience been in terms of fixing the problem?
I mean, it's been very hard because sometimes I'll talk with families and I'll try to get families to understand. And with me, I'll always try to be like a neutral person, where I work with a lot of teens, and some of the teens will have problems that they're going through in life, and they can't go and express it to their parents because parents have never had that situation happen to them, so they don't know how to respond to it. It's rather than, hey, this is what happened. I mean, they don't have that type of connection with their parents. It's send them to school, bring them back. Parents do the bare minimum, and that's the reality of things. Ever since me becoming a father, it's just made me more sympathetic and more gentle, just dealing with any youth.
Yeah. So are you teaching her soccer?
Oh, she can't see a soccer ball anywhere, man.
Oh, really?
Anytime she sees a soccer ball, she just says soccer ball. She's already running up to kick it.
She's already to kick it. Mashallah. Hopefully she will grow to be a pro. Hopefully, inshallah. Well, man, I really enjoy talking to you, man. This has just been fun. I feel like we're just scratching the surface on some of these topics, and I think there's a lot more to kind of discuss, but I think for this session, I think it's been interesting from the soccer world to the mental health, and I think our community just kind of sort of needs to pay attention to that. So any last minute advice, positive note that you wanna spin to your kids?
I mean, honestly, I want to say
you're coaching kids, that is, including your daughter, 2 years old.
I mean, I just want to tell them, like, continue to strive, and you can only be as great as you make yourself, and whatever you want to do in life, it's possible. And I would tell them just to keep striving. And one quote that I always tell them is, you never get to decide who your family members are, where you're born, or what type of environment you grow up in, but you do get to decide your future and who you become. So regardless of what you go through in life today, that doesn't determine your future. So, and I'd say, we all have struggles, and we all have problems in life. So we can't let our struggles and problems be the means of our demise and let that destroy us. We should use that to make us stronger, because the quote goes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So the people that are struggling the most are going to be the ones that are going to be most successful once they make it out of that struggle. But the only way to make it out is just to persevere and keep going.
We'll leave it at that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming.